The County Health Rankings and Roadmaps program is based at the University of Wisconsin Population Health Institute and is a collaboration with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. We would also like to acknowledge that this program is the result of the contributions of many colleagues and partners in Wisconsin and across the nation. Thanks to their support, we're able to bring you this webinar today. Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Burrows. Girardi. I did not forget my name. I wanted to make sure I turned on my camera. Today, I am joined by three of my colleagues. I want to start with introducing you to Carla Freeman. And Carla, you're on mute, but we can see your lips. How are you, Carla?
Sorry about that. I'm
That's okay.
good. Glad to be here.
We're also joined by Allie Havrilla. Hi, Allie.
Good morning, everyone. Glad you're with us.
And Allie will be managing the Q&A box this morning. Folks, if you have any questions, please place those questions in the Q&A box, and Allie's also going to be chatting some things to you. So feel free to respond to Allie if she chats something. Last but not least, perhaps the most important person on the webinar is our technologist, James Lloyd. Hi, James.
Hi, Erica.
James will be handling all technology issues. If you have a question about technology or your Zoom, feel free to chat to him in the chat box. But my fingers are crossed. I think we're going to be good. We're not going to have any issues, right, James?
It'll be great.
It's
It'll
going
be
to be
awesome.
great. All right, let's get back into our webinar. We have three outcomes I'd like to share with you. Together, we will reflect on learning and that's needed to increase resident engagement. We also intend to discuss the potential of cohort learning for you and your local partners. And lastly, throughout the webinar, you will notice that we'll be asking you to share what you learned today with others in your community. Knowledge is power, and we ask that you share that power with others. For those of you who are new to County Health Rankings and Roadmaps, I'd like to start with the why. Why does
Excuse
County
me,
Health?
Erica. This is James. Should we be seeing slides right now?
Oh, yes. Are you not seeing my slides?
I'm not seeing them.
Oh, well, let's fix that. Let's fix that. Oh,
I thought maybe you were ad-libbing, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just wait.
Wasn't.
All right, thank you.
All right, are you seeing my slides now?
Yeah, they look great. Thanks.
Oh, good. All right, folks. Let's start with that why. And why do we exist? And why do we produce resources that we do to support communities? Well, County Health Rankings and Roadmaps has two overarching goals. The first one is to improve health outcomes for all. This means how long and how well people live. And then our second goal is to close the health gaps between those with the most and least opportunities for good health. We believe that everyone should have a fair opportunity to be as healthy as possible, regardless of where we live or the circumstances we were born into. We get it. We know that the choices that we make depend on the opportunities we have. So think about this. Imagine a place where everyone has a fair and just opportunity to lead the healthiest life possible. A place with high quality schools, good paying jobs, access to healthy foods, quality healthcare, and affordable housing in safe neighborhoods. Imagine a place where differences in race and culture and perspectives are not only tolerated, but are celebrated as fundamental to health and well-being. Imagine that this is how we all experience our communities, regardless of where we live or how we look. Now, think about your own community. Who's not thriving there? Who doesn't have the same opportunities for health? What barriers have been put in place over the years, and what will it take to remove those barriers and change the opportunities in your community? This is how we advance health equity. Now, Carla and I are curious about what opportunities you are seeing within your own community for closing gaps in health. What I'm going to do now is ask you to chat those in. Make sure you chat to all attendees so that everyone can see your responses. And then Allie's going to lift up some of those responses in just a moment. So again, what opportunities are you seeing within your community to close gaps in health? You know, some people think the solution to closing gaps or correcting inequities is to simply give everyone the same resources. Well, this graphic helps us to understand why equality is just not the starting point for closing gaps. We need more than just the same resources or opportunities available for all. For example, the same adult bike would not allow everyone to ride safely to get where they wanted to go, and some could not even ride at all. Well, that's just unfair, and we have the power to change that. Let's think about an equity approach, where everyone again has a bicycle, but the type is based on what they need or their circumstance. Inequities result when there's a lack of opportunity and resources to thrive. In this example, a bike that meets the different needs is the equitable solution. We talked about the why. Now let's take a look at the what and the how. As I mentioned earlier, one of our goals is to improve health outcomes. Let's look a little bit more closely at this. The image you see here is our rankings model. This helps us to understand what drives health in a community. One of the goals we've had with this image is to help change the conversation about health and what influences health. What this image shows us is that health is more than what happens at your doctor's office. It's actually a wide range of factors that influence how long and how well we live. Yeah, it includes things we often think about when we hear about health, like what do we eat and what doctors we go to and how much do we move. But health also includes things like our education, our income, and the quality of our housing and safety of our neighborhoods. So with an understanding of influences health in a community, how can you plan to take action to improve your community's health? The take action cycle is our way of thinking about how to create a community that is healthy and equitable. We believe that community transformation starts with assessing needs and resources that you see in the upper right hand of this graphic and moves throughout the cycle to evaluation. You'll notice that communicate and work together are actions that wrap around or hug the cycle. And that's because these activities are central throughout the process and are actually taking place as you do the other action steps in the process. And at the center of this model are people just like you, community members, residents, and people doing the work to create a healthy community. You joined us today because you're interested in building resident engagement in the Delta region. We know that when people work together with a shared vision and commitment to improve health, it yields the best results. Carla, this webinar that I'm not saying this webinar is about, rather, an upcoming cohort on building resident engagement. Where in the take action cycle do you see that cohort fitting?
Well, it's all about community members or the residents, and we feel that they're the center of this process. And I'm going to be talking about that more a little later.
Great, great. Now I'm going to turn to Allie. Allie, what are some things that folks are lifting up in the chat about closing those health gap opportunities?
Yeah, we've had some great comments in the chat, lifting up access to transportation, increasing knowledge and connecting to resources, providing better, focusing support services in areas where low-income families are highly transient, and really thinking about what are the conditions that create stable environments in homes and in communities. So thanks everyone for lifting those up.
Awesome. I want to bring Carla back into the conversation at this point. Carla, closing gaps is how we advance equity. Well, it's one of the ways that we advance equity, but Why is resident engagement important in this work?
Because resident engagement advances equity. Communities are made up of people, people who live there, people who work there, people who play there. When working to improve a community, we need everyone to be a part of the decision and change-making process. That includes agencies working to serve the community and the residents who live there. When all parts of the community engage in this process together, we all experience a greater sense of belonging, trust, and power. Community engagement includes a balance of strategies that raise awareness and participation, gather feedback and input from the residents, and involve residents as active leaders.
Yeah, that makes sense. And exploring resident engagement will be part of this cohort learning that we will talk more about in a minute. However, I want you to know that County Health Rankings and Roadmaps has created an online resource to give you a better introduction to resident engagement than what we could do here in a few minutes. So I want to let you know about our action learning guides, and we have one that's called Partnering with Residents. Now, all of our action learning guides have been created with you in mind. They are self-paced, they're interactive, and they blend guidance and tools with hands-on activities. And all of this has been designed to help deepen your learning. I encourage you to check them all out, but Allie is chatting a link to the Partnering with Resident guide, so you can check that out later. Don't worry about going into the guide if you don't have time right now, because I really want you to pay attention to us. But we will also include this link in your follow-up notes. Carla, tell us a little bit more about cohort learning now that we've talked about resident engagement.
Absolutely. Cohort-based learning is one strategy that helps support CHR&R's goal to expand and diversify learning opportunities to support more communities in their journey toward better health and equity. You may be wondering, what is a cohort? It's simply a group of individuals who have something in common, who are willing to learn and share together. Equity is fundamental to our cohort learning model. We have found that creating cohorts has helped us do a deeper dive into the health equity by creating a space for communities to work on issues specific to them. In this case, we're bringing together folks from the Delta region to learn and share more about how to build resident engagement. Now, this is the third cohort that we have convened. We have worked with the Appalachian community around opioid abuse, and we've worked with the National Association of Counties, or NACO, to identify new and innovative solutions to the issues facing counties, including affordable housing.
Yeah. What makes cohort learning unique compared to other learning that we do within county health rankings and roadmaps?
Yeah, it's working together, we find yields better results than working alone. It maximizes what you learn because it focuses on real-time problems. It helps you think about what outcomes you want to achieve and helps you map out the actions you need to take. And learning occurs from shared experiences with others in the group.
Yeah, I'm currently one of the action learning coaches for the NACO um, cohort that you were referencing, and I know that folks seem to be enjoying that one. Why don't you tell us a little bit about previous cohort participants, how they felt about their experience?
Yeah. As you can see, this is pictures of the Appalachian cohort we did just a few months ago. And in that cohort, we focused on the opioid crisis in the Appalachian region. And the participants in that cohort shared that they learned how to be more strategic. They learned about resources that were right in their backyard, and they made great long-term connections.
Awesome. And that's definitely one of the things that we want to see happen with cohorts, and making those long-term connections where they can lean on each other for support later, right? Because,
Absolutely.
lots of communities are managing similar problems, similar
Right.
issues. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about who can participate in the Delta cohort.
So you have to live and work in one of the states in the Delta region, which is Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. You are in the early stage of action and engaging residents and using their power and voice. Now we're saying early stage because we really want people that are just beginning to do this. If you've been in advanced or super advanced and have done this, pass this information along to someone that's just starting out, because that's where we're going to be. You're interested in building relationships and firing up networks for continued learning across the region. You're interested in virtual learning environments and are willing to learn how to use video connections such as Zoom to communicate with others. You're ready to commit to a cohort learning opportunity for 6 months and can travel for one in-person convening in May to New Orleans. You are willing to be a part of a cross-sector team of 5 members who work with community groups. Faith, labor, students, youth, elders are some examples. And you have attended either this webinar or the virtual roundtable that's coming up February 6th, and there'll be more information about that. Now, participation is free to all participants, so there'll be no cost to you.
And I know that's a lot of information that Carla just shared with you. Please know that there will be other ways for you to gather this information, including a summary email that's going to be sent to you. And Carla is going to tell you about an application process coming up, and this information will be included in that as well. Remember, knowledge is power, folks. So share this with folks in your community. You know, and if you, again, I just want to reiterate what Carla was saying about the staging of this cohort. This cohort is designed for folks who are in early stages of resident engagement and are really learning how to use that as a strategy to improve community health. So if you're steeped in it, that's great, but you may have community partners that you want to bring along that have, you know, you want to be a little bit more grounded in resident engagement. This is perhaps a good cohort for them to join in with a team, right, Carla, of other folks who are in similar staging of early learning. This is not for individuals.
That's right.
So now that we understand what a cohort is and why it helps us learn with a group, what comes next?
Well, we have several steps to this process, so I want to take a minute to walk through it with you. This webinar, again, is meant to be a high-level overview of the cohort process and CHR&R. So congratulations, you just completed the first step. On February 6th, we'll have another opportunity for you to ask even more questions and begin to let us know what issues are important to you in your community. Now, this is going to be interactive. It's a virtual face-to-face conversation where you will also begin to interact with each other, again, using the Zoom platform that we're using now. On March 6th, the applications will be due. We hope by then you will understand the process, have decided on a team, and will be able to complete the application. We will choose 10 teams with 5 members in each team. By March 20th, your team will be notified of whether you've been chosen to participate in the cohort. Now, if you're chosen, you and your team will commit to a monthly virtual meeting for 6 months and that in-person meeting we talked about. All of the monthly meetings will be conducted using the Zoom platform. Now, unlike today, you'll be able to see each person on screen, not just Erica, Allie, James, and myself. You'll see everyone that is participating on screen, and you'll be able to interact with them. Again, there's no cost to you to attend the in-person meeting, which will be held in New Orleans, May 18th and 19th.
Great. Tell us a little bit about that virtual roundtable, because that's the very next step, right?
Right. And that, again, is February 6th, and that's going to be at 10 o'clock Central Time. So we want you to share your community experience, discuss the cohort team composition, and prepare for your application. Explore and discuss your learning needs, and connect with others in the Delta region. Because again, on the virtual roundtable, you'll be able to see everybody else that's on the call. Now, it's really important that if a team wants to put in an application, at least one member should attend the virtual learning roundtable or this webinar. This learning roundtable will occur virtually and give participants a chance to meet and discuss, similar to an in-person convening. We will meet by video using Zoom, so please plan to join by video using a webcam on your computer, laptop, tablet, or phone. Being able to see each other face to face will help us connect with each other and have a good conversation.
Great. Allie's chatting out the registration link right now, so you can register for that roundtable. Again, if this cohort or this roundtable is really not appropriate for you in terms of staging, you know, you're already steeped in this work, be sure to share that with someone else. And again, I just want to reiterate, this will be sent to you in a follow-up email. So if you don't get to it right now, that's fine, no worries. And just you'll have other opportunities to get that information back to us. Now, I want to transition to talk about the application because that's another step in the process that comes after the roundtable, but another step in the process for the cohort for those who are interested in joining. So share a little bit more about that, Carla.
Absolutely. We'll be sending the application to everyone who registered for the webinar today, and it'll also be on our website. We want you to really start thinking about the diverse and representative voices you'd like to have on your team. And this application, you can see a screenshot of it there, but you'll be able to get it with the email that will be coming in a few days after this presentation. And we're trying to give you enough time to really look at the application, see what questions are there, and then be able to bring any questions you have either to the roundtable or to contact us directly. But this is giving you plenty of time to sort of put your team together, understand what the application looks like, and be ready to go ahead and submit it on March 6th.
Perfect. Carla, I know some of our guests here that are attending today may be located in states that are not eligible for participation, but how can they still support the cohort?
Now, we know some folks are from other states, and if you don't live in one of the states identified, we encourage you to pass this information along to someone who does. We understand that we live in a global community, and someone from Oregon may have a contact in Alabama. So please forward this to anyone you think fits the criteria. We really want this to go out to as many folks as possible in the states that we've indicated.
Awesome. Thank you. So I told you we'd be asking you to share. So you have heard that a lot from Carla and me thus far. And now I'm actually going to turn it over to Allie because Allie, you can let us know what questions have come up. Some questions have come in with registration, I understand, and there may be some questions that folks have. Listen, if you don't have your questions in the Q&A box, this is the time to place them right now because Allie's lifting those questions up. Thanks, Allie.
Yeah, thanks, Erica and Carla. I might take us back to the slide that we shared earlier on resident engagement and wondering if one of you might speak a little bit more to some specific strategies that we can lift up around resident engagement as we think about ways to raise awareness and participation in involving residents as active leaders.
Carla, you want to take that?
You want to go there? I think one of the things that I think we're really trying to do is make sure that residents are a part of this. We know that we have this notion of grass tops and grassroots, and a lot of times issues are driven by folks that are not actually being are going to be the folks that are recipients of whatever's happening, or be the ones that are actually going to have to implement whatever's happening. And so we really feel like it's so important to make sure the residents are the ones that are giving the feedback, speaking to the issue, making sure their wants and needs are included in the strategy so that as the strategy is implemented, people feel like they have buy-in to that and they want to participate. And so as basic probably to a lot of you as this sounds, good resident engagement doesn't always happen. And so we really want to make sure we're focusing on the community, on the people that are in these communities so that we can make sure their issues are being addressed.
Yeah, before you chime in again, Allie, I just want to kind of chime into what you said, Carla, about resident engagement doesn't always happen. I think there's probably the assumption that this is an easy thing to do, but for those of you who have tried it, you know that it can be a little bit more challenging than anticipated. So that's a great question, and it's something that you could probably delve into a little bit more in that roundtable. So whoever asked that question, thank you for asking it, and plan to come to that February 6th roundtable because I think you can probably unpack that a little bit more. Okay, Allie.
Yeah, we've got some questions asking about what we mean when we say early stages versus steeped in the work. And so I'm wondering if we can tease that out a little bit, what we mean when we're referencing early stage.
Well, when we think about early stage, and thanks for that question, because I know there's a continuum, and I think that's just an assessment you almost have to do for yourself. One of the things we're trying to avoid with a cohort is people that have come and they're learning very basic information about an issue, and then they sit through the whole thing and say, I know this, I know that, I already learned that, I've already done all of this. And so if you, it's almost like if you know that you're in an advanced stage of resident engagement, you kind of know it because you've either organized people for maybe a campaign or for, you know, some other issue, and you've been a leader in that. And you know there are people that maybe you've had to bring along and start at the very beginning. Some people have never even convened a group before, but they know that maybe in their community, they have a few people that they want some issue to be addressed. So how can this person that has the potential to be a leader or is leading a small group, but doesn't have the skill set that is needed and can learn a few more skills in a group setting with some facilitation and support to become better at that. And so it is one of those things where you kind of assess yourself. But I think if you have already gone through the basics of, you know, convening people and doing some of those things and are moving people on to issues, you may be a little more advanced, and this may be a little too beginner for you. So it's just something you have to think about. And if you feel like you're a beginner and you don't have the skill set that you think you would, we encourage you to come on, but we just want people to know that's where this is going to be. It's not going to be at those advanced stages and moving, you know, into a lot of the realms that some of the more advanced folks are in.
Great, thanks, Carla. Appreciate that. So I think going to more sort of the functionality of the cohort, if you could dive a little deeper in talking about how the cohort will be facilitated and might move through the learning period and time together, that'd be awesome.
Okay. I can speak to it, and Erica and Allie can also speak to this because we've all been a part of the cohorts. Like I said, we've done, this is our third cohort. That is the hardest word for me to say, cohort, together. But I will say that it starts with you choosing a team. And I think deciding who you're going to sort of go through this process with is really important. So thinking about who you want to work with and a diverse groups, because we're hoping that this team can almost be your sort of pilot or pod group that can actually grow something exciting in the community that you live, work, and play in. Once you come with your team, then we're going to have some support from you, from the two ladies that are actually on this screen, Allie and Erica, to give you support, direct support with your team, and so that you have sort of a contact there. And then we're going to be working in these virtual monthly meetings that are usually an hour to an hour and a half long. And we may have speakers, we'll have specific topics. A lot of this will depend on what bubbles up through the conversations when you're selected, because we ask you questions there at the virtual roundtable because we want to hear from you there. And we'll try to incorporate all of that into these virtual sessions. Now you'll hit that, do the in-person meeting. It's like halfway. I think we do one virtual session in April, and then in May, you're going to meet in person so you can actually see each other before you really start this journey. So all of the teams will be together for a day and a half in New Orleans, learning about this whole thing. We will have speakers and different activities for you to do to get you ready to be a part of the cohort and the team. And so then you'll go back in June. I'm trying to do my months, May, June, and starting in June all the way through September, you will be having that monthly meeting with your cohort online, seeing each other on screen. And we found that this has really worked well. And it also teaches you how to use Zoom, which is, I love this technology, especially if you have people that are not near you. You can bring them together and see them on screen. So, and then at the end, we're hoping that depending on what the topics and activities we decide based on, again, your feedback, we hope that you'll be able to take that information and improve the health and lives of your community. And I'll turn it over to Erica or Allie to add to that if they have anything.
Nothing to add from my end, and we'll just say that as of right now, we've gotten through most of the questions that have come in, so just turn it over for our next steps.
Great. I will say I'm helping Carla and Allie and I are helping Carla to plan this cohort, but hearing you talk about it sounds so exciting that if I wasn't a part of it as one of the planners, I would want to join. So you've gotten me all excited about
awesome.
it. Awesome. So again, continue to share your questions in the Q&A box. We'll try to get through them before we end the webinar. But if not, a good way to ask additional questions will be to attend that February 6th event. So thank you for attending. This was a special topics webinar, and we typically do not meet on Thursdays, but we felt that this was important enough that we wanted to provide a special space, an event for you to learn about this Delta region cohort. However, we will return to our regular webinar schedule on Tuesday, January 28th. So I'm going to ask you to join me for that webinar about why the census matters to health equity. And that webinar will be featuring Michael Wilson with the Lehigh Community Foundation. So there's still time and opportunity for you to register for that webinar. Just go to our website at countyhealthrankings.org to register for that. Allie is actually cheating. Wow, she is actually chatting. She is not cheating. She is actually chatting out a link to our feedback survey for this particular webinar. Please let us know how we did. Your feedback is important to us, and we actually do use the recommendations that would come out of those feedback surveys to help improve our webinar. So I'd appreciate if you would take a moment to fill that out. Again, that link will be also in the materials that we send to you. And of course, stay connected with us. We have a presence on Facebook and Twitter. If you have not signed up for our e-newsletter already, please do take some time to do that, because that is often the best way for you to find out information about our upcoming webinars, as well as new tools and resources that we have available to us. So you can actually sign up to for our e-newsletter at chr@match.wisc.edu. And I just riled that off so fast, I know you didn't hear it. That's okay. We will have it in the follow-up information. So I want to thank James, Allie, and Carla for supporting us in this webinar, and thank you all for taking time out of your day to learn about the Delta Region cohort. And I certainly hope to see you on January 28th, but more importantly, I hope to see you on February 6th, where we'll have that virtual roundtable. Thank you so much for your time today, and have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.